Mega Man 2 hit the Game Boy Advance in 2003. Development was handled by Indie Creates. I liked the first game, it was a good experience, but it was hard. You always had the option to use Cyber Elves if the game was getting too difficult, so the difficulty was at least partially in our own hands. Check out that retrospective if you want more thoughts on that. But Mega Man 02 was the developer's chance to fix the flaws. Built on the exact same engine, it added some things, removed some things, and refined others. So let's get into it. The story picks up exactly 1 year after Zero defeated Copy X. Zero has spent the entire year wandering around the desert, just destroying the Arcadian forces left and right until his body shuts down. He falls unconscious in the middle of a sandstorm, and then Sage Harpoonia shows up. He flies him to the new resistance base. I'm not sure why Sage Harpoonia would do that and not just leaving him out there to rot, but I guess it all worked out in the end. More on that later. Once Zero wakes up at the base, he learns that Ciel decides to step away from military command to focus entirely on building a new energy source to solve the energy crisis. Because she's stepping back, she leaves command of the resistance to a Replord named Ave-O. Ave-O is the main antagonist for this game. He starts out preparing for a big military attack called the Operation Righteous Strike to crush Neo Arcadia by force. At first he agrees with Ciel that they should bide their time and wait for her to finish her new energy source. But at the same time he's also like, well, it's kind of a missed opportunity, you know, X hasn't been resurrected yet. And then they find out that Zero comes back to the base. So he feels some type of way. I'm not sure if it's jealousy or just opportunity. Could be a mixture of both, because at the end of the day, I can definitely see this dude being like, man, dude, Zero's here trying to take my shine. But at the same time, I mean, I could use him on these missions, get this operation underway. So he does just that. And when his grand mission is ready and Ciel tries to stop him, say, hey man, I just need a little bit more time, I'm almost finished. And he's like, well, that's pretty much a pipe dream. I don't think Neo Arcadia is willing to work with us even if we do give them the new source. And then Serviu comes back around and say something else and he tells everybody shut up. Even though I don't think Ave-O liked Zero from the moment he got there, I did think that he found him to be a golden opportunity to get his operations underway, to take care of Neo Arcadia once and for all. I mean, you can hear it as he talks to him, you know, calling him the legendary hero. And, you know, this mission might not be up to your fantastic abilities or whatever, but, you know, this is what we got. I just need you to go ahead and do this. Either way, when the mission Righteous Strike is deployed, it's an absolute failure. After that, he just loses it. He decides the only way to win is to obtain more power. He moves from wanting the power to command an army to wanting the power to defeat anyone himself. So he goes rogue to hunt down the Dark Elf to get enough power to destroy Neo Arcadia on his own, while Zero tries to bring him back to the base. I don't know what Ciel saw in Ave-O, but she was wrong. That dude was the last Replord you would want to have in charge. He does a lot of lip service, how he was worried about the Replords or how Zero was a great help, but really he just wanted revenge. The more people oppose his commands, the more you see him snap at everyone. When you go to rescue Ave-O, you get confronted by the three Guardians. And Leviathan and Sage basically treat that dude like he's just some nobody, but y'all decide to make him your commander.
Is this your king? Is this your king?
The cutscene production is standard for the GBA, character portraits with text boxes. Same as the first game, just a little more of it here. Still good quality in my opinion. Moving on to the gameplay. It's very similar to the first game. I already talked about the chop screen and it hasn't changed here, but the controls in 02 are just as tight and responsive. You have that custom menu where you can map your main and sub weapons to different buttons, and you get to see elves that you have acquired and new items as well. Weapon wise, the engine tosses out the triple rod from the first entry and adds a brand new weapon to the mix, the chain rod. This tool lets you hook onto distant ceilings, swing over pits, and literally pull shields right out of enemies' hands. We also got to talk about how the weapon leveling has changed from 01. In the first game, you had to spend an hour or so grinding in the corner to get your basic 3-hit combo or charge shot. In Zero Two, they fixed this. Your weapons level up much faster through normal play, so you don't feel like you're stuck doing chores just to get a basic moveset. However, you do lose some of the attacks with this change. Zero also retains his use of elemental chips, fire, ice, and thunder, which you equip to your weapons to change their properties. It has the classic rock, paper, scissors dynamic. From what I've seen, all the bosses have an elemental weakness. They could have switched it up to having somebody not have a chip being the best option for them. At least one boss, but feel free to let me know if I got that wrong. Speaking of bosses, the balance of the bosses and enemies in general were done pretty well. While it might take time to learn a boss's pattern, you'll get used to it. Another nice touch. Unlike the first game where failing a mission meant you were permanently locked out of the boss fights or items, Zero Two lets you retry stages. If you mess up, you can just try again. It's a lot more forgiving. I'm on the fence about this. It's probably better that they got rid of it, but the option to have a bad route was still appealing to me. The upgrade systems in Zero Two are deep. The first game used cyber elves for upgrades, but it felt like a tedious grind because you had to farm thousands of energy crystals off enemies just to use the permanent ones for increasing your health, for example. They decided to change that by reducing the number of crystals needed by a large amount. An elf that you had to feed 1,200 crystals in the first game, you only had to feed about 400 in the second. Another thing, I really liked the way they handled sub-tanks this time around. You get 2 physical tanks to find in the stages. Then there are 2 specific cyber elves that you can use as a 3rd and 4th tank. It reminds me of X4 to X6 where you had 2 health sub-tanks, but in X1 through 3 you had 4. You still can't get max health increases without using an elf, but I think that's a great compromise. They're not all health though. You have 3 different types of elf: nurse, animal, and hackers. The nurses are the ones that do something with health. Animals can help with things like saving you from pits. Hackers can do things like change your rank to rank A, which will come in handy if you're falling behind. The ranking system grades your performance from F all the way to S based on clear time, enemy kills, damage taken, and more. Keeping a high rank isn't as hard as the first game, but it's still pretty hard. Keeping an A or S rank is the only way to unlock EX skills though. These moves are earned by defeating bosses. I'll be honest, I never actually learned how to pull one of these off because I never kept an A rank. So if you end up seeing any of these skills right now, they're probably coming from somebody else's channel, so shout out to them. If you can't keep an A rank or an S rank, you will drop a big portion of your arsenal, but it's not like you need them in order to beat the game. Quick edit here. Since you can actually use cyber elves to give yourself a level A ranking on your missions, that's a way that you can get past being good enough to get the X skills. And since there's 4 cyber elves that have that ability, you have at least 4 chances to get an EX skill if you're not good enough to get it on your own. Finally, we have the form system. Your weapons level up more naturally now, and doing specific tasks unlocks new armor sets called forms. For instance, if you kill a bunch of enemies with dash attacks, you unlock the active form, which increases your speed and gives you a rolling jump attack, a move that used to be unlocked by leveling up your saber. This is probably the only thing I don't like about it, because I really did like having that move be unlocked through the level up. The rise form is built for anti-air combat. The erase form boosts your defense and allows your saber to delete enemy lasers. We have the power form for attack damage, defense form for defense, the energy form for more energy drops. There's the proto form if you beat the game and you're a glutton for punishment. And the ultimate form is available in post-game for those who have used all of the cyber elves. It's a nice mechanic that rewards your playstyle. When you look at the world building, Zero Two takes a step backward in terms of environmental continuity, but a step forward in casual convenience. The first game featured an interconnected world map that made the environment feel like a singular space. That was something I really liked. In Zero Two though, they dropped that layout, isolating stages into individual missions like other Mega Man series. The Resistance base is a fine central hub. You can walk around multiple floors, talk to NPCs, check on CL's progress, and feed collected energy crystals to your cyber elves. It's simple, but it does the job well enough to keep the world grounded. As far as side quests, there aren't any, which is unfortunate to me because, I would have liked to have seen at least a couple, but it is what it is. I want to talk briefly on every stage. I died a lot, and you probably will too if you haven't played this game before, so let's just go ahead and look at the lineup. The intro stage. It's a good warm-up. You're just trying to get past the Arcadian soldiers in the desert. It's a nice background. Also got a pretty easy boss. The Forest of Dias. The objective here is you have to find 5 Reploids in the facility. You'll also find a sub-tank here too, which will definitely come in handy. The boss here is kind of weird. The floor is moving around, so it's almost as much of a problem as he is. I think they should use that mechanic more. Next mission is to destroy the cooling facility. This is your standard cold stage. You have to destroy the computers in order to complete the mission. At some point, you'll end up fighting Polar Camerus. He's pretty slow, and he's very easy, but with the fire chip is even easier. Power room. The objective is to destroy the power room. This stage can be a grind. You have to find and blow up 5 motherboards or generators or whatever they are. It has some tricky platforming. The Phoenix is a tough fight because he teleports constantly, and he probably is the hardest one out of the 4 for me. The last one is the train. You have to rob the goods. I had the biggest problem with the screen crunch here. Because the view is so tight, those spiked enemies kept hitting me before I could react and kill them. I didn't even worry about the goods, I was just trying to survive. Panther is aggressive and he likes to close the distance instantly. Me, I did a lot of camping in the gap between the trains, so yeah, that's a pretty easy way to kill him, especially if you have your charged saber. Next you have 2 stages where the first one is Operation Strike. You pass a bunch of Reploids that got defeated because Ave-O is a terrible strategist. He was about to become a pile of junk before Zero got there to save him. All in due time. The Guardians here see Zero and they're all buddy-buddy with him like they didn't just get destroyed by him last time they saw each other. They're like, hey, Zero, what's up, man? Come get your boy. Yeah, man, you're lucky you got here in time, man. Dude was about to be up out of here. And instead of being like,
man, let's jump.
They decide, for some reason, to tell him that they have a bombardment headed to the base and he needs to try to stop it. So you go back to the base, CL tells you the same thing. You have to get to the main airship with the bomb on it and destroy it. CL says that she needs to disarm the bomb before it can be destroyed. So Zero goes first and lets her know when it's safe. At the start of the stage, you don't teleport in. You take a plane and drop down on top of the enemy plane. That's kind of hot. You then jump from plane to plane until you get to the big ship. You message HQ to bring CL in, and then you defend CL while she disarms the bomb. The enemies keep coming here, so it's pretty easy to get overwhelmed if you don't stay on top of things. After this mission is where LPZO disappears, so let's go ahead and go to the second set of stages. In these next 4 missions, they're all to find LPZO. You have the Force of Notice. This one is pretty much like the first stage. I had some trouble with the boss here, but overall it's a good stage. Next one is Computer Zone 2. This stage is high stress platforming. It's filled with traps and timed sections. Fairy Leviathan is fast, but you have the fire chip so you can take care of her easily enough. At least she's more challenging than she was in the first game though. Next you have the Crystal Cave. The hardest thing in this stage is getting this freaking Cyber Elf. I wasted like 15 minutes doing this and just gave up. Sage is another good boss, but I'm used to his attack pattern, so he wasn't too hard. Last, you have the Subtle Factory. This stage is full of conveyor belts that can crush you and heavy hitting enemies. A lot of lava. Fafnir is the most unpredictable boss in this game. Had to play it safe with him. I just mainly used the Buster Shot. He dodged the crap out of me one good time, man. I mean, just watch this. After you clear the initial missions, you're heading to Neo Arcadia to stop LPZO. You travel to 3 separate locations: the Temple of Flame, Temple of Water, and Temple of Wind. Temple of Flame, there's more lava and more bombs you have to hit into the walls. That was always annoying. Fafnir has a transformation phase that has him turn into a vehicle. He shoots fire and bombs at you. but unfortunately this was easier than his first fight. Next you got the Temple of Water. It's slick, waterlogged, a lot of spikes. Leviathan has a transformation that changes up how she fights as well, but she's actually harder, and she actually makes the fight a problem if you aren't positioned pretty well. At the Temple of Wind, you fight Sage. It's a lot of vertical platforming here. A big thing here also is the lasers that you have to get past. Harpoonia gets beat by Ave-O, and he's controlled by the baby elf, so he's actually forced to fight Zero. He actually adds Zero to kill him, which, once again, I don't understand why the Guardians have such a affinity for Zero, but you know, it is what it is. He ends up turning into some type of jet or something, but he shoots missiles that are hard to time, and he'll zip around, making it hard to land a hit on them. These missions are where the game starts demanding you actually know your stuff. The stage design is meant to wear you down before you even reach the boss, and it does a good job at that. Once the Guardians are down, you go to Yggdrasil. I think I'm saying that right. You, of course, have another boss rush against the previous bosses you have already beaten. It's a series of rematches that test if you actually mastered the techniques. One of these fights is different because the boss is actually fighting with his brother against Zero. It turns the whole thing into a 2-on-1. And I think they did a pretty good job with that. They both don't stay on the screen the entire time. I mean, one backs off while the other one does his technique. So it's a good idea. You know what? It might have been a little bit too hard if both of them stayed on the screen the entire time. So I'm good with how they did that. Also, apparently Ave-O is the one who resurrected these people, and they are brainwashed. And once you defeat them, they're like, oh, what happened? Kind of messed up. After beating the boss rush, you reach the shrine where X's body has been acting as a seal for the Dark Elf. Ave-O walks in, shatters the shield, and destroys X's body that absorbs the Dark Elf. Not gonna lie, I was a little pissed seeing him take out X like that. Then he screams out, I did it! I beat X! Like he won't sitting in a seat defenseless. Not like you beat him in a battle. What a bump. Anyway, he transforms into the first version that we gotta slap around, and I do just that. He got me one good time though. I was trying to fill him out. Then he transforms into the winged form. He looks very similar to the copy X Seraph form, and he starts speaking in what seems to be broken sentences. I made sure to use his weakness and took him out. I'll be honest, this was easier than I thought it would be. He went down without too much trouble. In his final moments, Ave-O admits he was weak-minded and thanks Zero for stopping him, because he would have otherwise done something unforgivable. I feel like he already did that when he, destroyed X's body, but okay. Then the Dark Elf, who is apparently not evil, transforms Ave-O into a cyber elf and saves his life. Alright. Then he remarks that the Dark Elf isn't evil and flies away. That's an odd way to end it, but it does have consequences. Ave-O releasing the Dark Elf ends up being the catalyst for everything that goes wrong in the next game. At the end of the day, I think Ave-O is not a great villain, but at the same time, that actually might be what makes him great. I don't like him as a character, but there's lots of villains that you just don't need to like, and if you don't like them, they did their job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to defeat him. You take a look at his whole situation. He was thrown out of Neo Arcadia, or he left by his own choice. It doesn't say which one, but either way, he obviously had a grudge against Neo Arcadia, which is why he went to the Resistance, and little by little he did things to help them militarize themselves to defend themselves against Neo Arcadia. But ultimately he wanted to get rid of Neo Arcadia at the end of the day. CL couldn't see that, and she let him be in charge, and as soon as she let him be in charge, he was kind of like pushing her off to the side. I mean, let's go ahead and say, if he ended up destroying Neo Arcadia, CL would have been the only human left. It's up in the air whether I think he would have let her live or not, because at the end of the day, she was a threat to his power, but she was the last human left. All the Reploids would outlive her, so he could just bide his time until she, died of old age or whatever. Instead of him being just defeated, he ends up turning into an elf, which I still don't really understand. The elf has powers to just shrink a Reploid, which that was something. And he gets to just fly off like, well, I did all this massive destruction, but I still get to live, so goodbye. I still don't understand why Sage didn't just leave Zero where he was. I mean, I know he likes him, so at the very least, why take him to the Resistance? Why not take him to Neo Arcadia? See if y'all can convince Zero to, you know, work with you instead. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, help us. Help the Resistance, you know, at least lie or attempt or something. The other Guardians obviously wouldn't have cared. Zero still just as stoic, wouldn't have killed him to give him a few more lines. I mean, say something. Do you like this dude? Do you don't like him? Do you think things are moving a little too fast with Operation Strike? Is this what you really want to be a part of? And something. But at the end of the day, the story is okay. And there is more story in this one than there was the first Zero game, so that is a plus. So let's stop here and talk about the music. Of course, the Game Boy Advance sound chip isn't anything worth talking about, but you do get some pretty good music here. I wouldn't call it like mind-blowing or anything, but I would say that it's better than the first game. Out of all the tracks, there's always a few that stand above the rest. For me, that would be Ave-O, Sand Triangle, Cool Water. Those are ones I could see myself possibly going back to take a listen to. The boss theme is okay. It gets the job done and keeps the energy up, but it's nothing special. It fits the stage, it keeps the pace, and for a GBA game, that's fine by me. Since Zero 2 is a classic, I would have thought the fan community would have done a lot more with fan games on this game, but I have not seen hardly any. So I was kind of surprised and unfortunately also disappointed because I only seen 3, and one of them was talking about just bringing the blood back, and another one was just a translation, and the last one was about the EX skills just being available regardless of your rank. So I mean, that one out of the 3 is the one I would probably choose to, you know, mess around with if I was going to mess around with any of them. But all in all, I think it's all right. So with all that being said, where do I put Mega Man Zero 2? I think that it's a solid focused action game. It's a step up in comparison to the first game, and it moves away from being the big interconnected world map, which I liked, but it's still okay. It's not perfect, but no game is. I mean, especially when you got this screen crunch, it can make things unnecessarily frustrating, but it's still a rewarding experience if you put your time to learn the systems, especially if you want to put in enough time to master it, get your EX skills, take some time, have fun with the elves, and be prepared for a grind. But overall, I think that this was an amazing game. Thanks for watching. I'm thinking about moving to Zero 3 next. Everybody says that that is peak of the series, so I'm interested in playing it, but I gotta finish X7 first. What did you think of this game? Let me know in the comments. If you're enjoying these retrospectives, like the video so I can keep growing, and consider hitting the subscribe button. It really helps me keep these coming. I'll see you in the next one.